Today at Manchester Theatres, I am with Manchester's very own Reece Williams, whose moving show This Kind of Black is coming to home theatre from the 18th of February. Now, Reece is a strong presence across the northern spoken word and poetry scene, having performed across the UK and internationally with the likes of the late Amiri Baraka, Kai Tempest, Sol Williams, and The Last Poets. As a former trustee of Contact Theatre, Reece champions youth engagement and active citizenship through the arts. And with commissions from the likes of The Guardian and Penguin, we really are with a force of nature today. So, Reece, thank you so much for joining me. So This Kind of Black it's a tale of a coming-of-age tale in Moss Side in the 1990s, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about the story and what we can expect.
For sure. So the story is about me growing up in Moss Side as a young person. In many ways, it's a father and son story. So I tell the story of my relationship with my late dad, who for many years was a figure of the Manchester gang scene, before managing to turn his life around and give something positive back to the community and help to kind of undo some of the damage that he'd done to his community. Yeah. So it's that relationship. It's me figuring out my place in the world, navigating the noise of the community that I lived in, but also the voices that are from the media, from people from outside of our community who told us that we wouldn't amount to much and this is all you could ever hope for. And I guess me navigating that journey from boy to man, you see me figure that all out on stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite the journey you've gone on, and the piece has gone on quite a journey as well, I believe, because it started as a collection of poems, and then you've sort of workshopped it, thrown in music and projected images and stuff. So, yeah, tell us kind of where it started and as to where it's got to now.
For sure. So it started as you said, a collection of poetry, my debut collection, which will hopefully be out fairly soon, and I did a little bit of a sharing where I basically performed some of the poems at Contact Theatre, and 3 or 4 people, including the eventual director and producer of the show, Matt Fenton, said, well, apart from it being a book, what are you doing with it performance-wise? Because those stories and the poems that you shared are so powerful, we could see it on stage. So I spoke with Matt, and Matt was like, yeah, absolutely, let's find some partners, let's get the funders on board, and we'll turn it into a full piece. So we thankfully got a commission from Home. Home said, yeah, we'd love to see a scratch of it. We'd love to see you develop it in its first iteration. So we did that. They were blown away because they were coming to expect me with a piece of paper on stage reading for 20 minutes something. I did a 40-minute scratch off paper with no text in front of me. And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. We're booking it as a full run. So that was November 2023. We presented that over at Home. Yeah, so it's been really fun in the sense of getting it into a workshop space. We've got an amazing sound designer on and a movement specialist, plus some really amazing video projections from Sumit Sarkar, who is a phenomenal artist in his own right. So yeah, we said, let's make it as visual as possible. Let's make it as full as possible and give the audience a real experience.
And is it just you on stage doing all of this? Yeah. Whoa.
me on stage for an hour and 5 minutes.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you've mentioned there that you write from your own experiences, and I'm guessing that for the audience watching, that massively gives it authenticity, it gives it truth, relatability. Is that the way that you always see yourself writing from, your own experiences?
That's a great question. I'd say that I primarily write from my own experience because it's an experience I know better than anybody else. I don't always write from my own experience. So I sometimes write from what I call collective memory, which is kind of the idea of maybe a generation of us who experienced a similar thing, then I kind of give a voice to all of those people who maybe experience the same. But I think there's something in being a writer, being empathic to other people's experience. But I think for me, the perspective I approach everything is, I want to write from a place of honesty, from a place of truth, from a place of ownership. So when I'm on stage, even if I am, I guess, in times telling stories, I'm not telling stories outside of myself. I'm not being an actor on stage, even if I am acting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And I think in doing that as well, for the audience watching, you kind of, you bring in, yes, an entertainment piece, but you're educating. You bring in us information of backgrounds that we might not have lived, of different lives and cultures. And I think that's quite important to you, isn't it? To really educate the community as well.
It is. It's really important. And I think in many ways why I'm doing the piece is there's lots of young men that I mentor who have experienced firsthand many of the things that I've experienced, but in a different way. So the idea of youth violence and knife crime that's prevalent now, and a lot of them feel vilified and they feel blamed by the media, even when they've not been active participants in anything. And I love to be able to tell them this isn't unique. This experience that you're talking about goes back 25, 30 years, and we found a way to navigate through. Look at us, we're positive members of society doing really amazing and exciting things, and that can be your story too if you give yourself the space and the opportunity to do that. So just giving something back, really inspiring the next generation and telling the story of our community in our own words, because I believe that if you don't tell your own story, somebody will tell it for you and they'll do a bad job, is what I think.
yeah, they're not going to do it right. Yeah. And as well as, mentioning there's things that aren't necessarily pleasant that have happened. There's a bit of tragedy and trauma, but it is celebratory as well, isn't it? Because it isn't, it's looking on the other side and where you can go, not just at what you're stuck at, what you're giving.
Absolutely. I think that there's something really important in art, that we tell the truth and we make it beautiful, even if the truth is ugly, even if the experiences we're going to talk about are traumatic, that we talk about them. But also there's something really joyous and powerful in that we overcome these things, and that's about the human spirit and resilience and the community sticking together and finding a way to navigate things that could possibly break you if you allowed it to do so. And definitely on a personal level, me navigating the experience of losing my dad in very traumatic, tragic circumstances, in terms of you get a call, your dad's had a heart attack and he's passed away. How do you navigate that? How do you come to terms with that? And I did, and I came through it. But equally, it's about letting the world know, you can come through.
Yeah, it's a really brave thing to do. You're not just writing a play as other writers do, which is hard anyway, because you always give a part of yourself to whatever you write, but you're literally giving everything to it's really, really brave thing to do. Does it ever kind of terrify you a little bit?
I think I'm more scared in rehearsals and preparation than I am when there's an audience in front of me, if I'm being honest with you. But I feel like because it's my story, there's more of a positive nerves than there is being terrified of performing it, if that makes sense. And it's always nice to perform it because no two audiences are the same, no two venues are the same, and even performing it to audiences that haven't got the same background as me, you'd be surprised how much intersectionality is in the piece, in that there's people from the working class community who are able to say, well, I'm not Black, I'm not Caribbean, but I can relate to that thing that you spoke about, and our story looked a little bit like this. Those stories are kind of adjacent, that they're kind of neighbouring experiences, which is always nice and refreshing to hear and experience.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the point, isn't it? To say, well, our experiences might not be the same, but there's common ground. We're all human race.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even though there might be, a little bit of even good nerves, this has been a sellout tour. You've done it before. It's been in Chester. It's been at home before, as we've said. Have there been any revamps, any changes this time, or are you saying, do you know what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
I think there's minor tweaks, not necessarily with the story, but I guess in how I deliver it, definitely, because I'm learning. It's really interesting, having lived with the text for over a year, looking back and revisiting it in rehearsals. You see even poems that I've written 5 years ago in a totally different way now. So it's about me, finding the freshness in that and connecting with the text in a different way. But not wholesale changes, if I'm being totally honest, because it does work. It is a piece we're really proud of. And I'm really excited to see how the audience that didn't get to see it last time because it sold out, how they interact with it, for sure.
So we've talked about how this piece, came from its roots and how it's grown into this. But where did you start? Like, how did you first find writing and realize it was the thing for you?
Yeah, I started in high school. Again, like many of my peers, I started off rapping. I wasn't good. I rapped for about 5 minutes. Wasn't particularly good. But the creativity part and the idea of putting together something I really enjoyed. And also, I was always in trouble in school. I felt like I was always in trouble in school. But I had a really positive mentor who gave me a notepad and basically said, all the things that you say that get you kicked out of lesson because they're rude and inappropriate, imagine you wrote it down. And all the things that make you angry enough to fight about, imagine you just wrote it down instead of actually going out and having a fight. So it started off as a journal, started off very much in that way. And then eventually it became more creative in poetry. Shared that with an English teacher. He was, really positive and supportive and said, this is really nice. And then when I left high school, I joined a poetry collective called Young Identity, which basically helped to nurture my talents, put me on stage to perform, gave me opportunity to travel internationally, secured me commissions. And this, I think for the first time in my life, I saw myself as an artist and as a poet.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think when you have people there who believe in you and encourage you and say, do you know what? Yeah, you can do this, turn that into this, makes a world of difference. And
It does.
it's beautiful that you're now giving that back. You know, you believe yourself, you champion youth engagement. So tell me a little bit about your work with that, because I know you run workshops and things, don't you?
Absolutely. I think me mentoring and kind of supporting the next generation's always been a part of my practice because that's what I grew up on. You know, when I joined Young Identity, there were people that were, again, a little bit older than us, but who were really passionate about giving back and helping us to become the best version of ourselves as poets and as people. And that's always going to run through my work. And I think that I'd like to think in 20 years' time, I don't want to be measured on just how many shows that I make, how many books that I publish, how many people know my name, but how many next generation of artists have I inspired and helped to achieve and become all that they can be. So that's really important to me, whether that be through running workshops, helping people to edit their work, or just giving someone a word of advice or encouragement when they're trying to get their next steps in their career, creating platforms for the next poets and artists to share their work. It's all the same and it's all important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who did want to kind of think, yeah, that's something I'm interested in, actually that's what I feel my path is, where would you suggest they start? Where could they look? Where could they go?
Absolutely. So I'd say Young Identity, which is an amazing charity for young people aged 13 to 30 in Manchester who want to write. They run workshops in 3 different locations in Manchester 3 times a week. They're totally free. You get access to kind of world-class facilitators with lots of opportunities to perform your work, to be platformed, to eventually get commissions, and just get a full breadth of what it means to become an artist and be an artist. And I'd say as well, Manchester's really thriving with a spoken word and live performance poetry scene that you should definitely check out. So I'd point you to Manchester UNESCO City of Literature, which is manchestercityofliterature.com. They have all the listings of every single event that's happening to do with literature in Manchester, whether it's book launches and readings to more slam poetry or performance-based stuff. So I'd say get out to events, see what's happening, and you'll see that there's a place for every possible type of voice and every type of young person in the scene. We're a really friendly scene, really accommodating scene. So just get your voice out there, get to workshops, get to events, check it out, and just go for it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like when listening to you there's there's actually so much opportunity. And I just want to pick up on something you said then as well, that it is about getting yourself out there. It is your voice. You never need to try and be someone else when you're writing. Your selling point is you, isn't it?
This is it. And I think there's something really important in that. That's what contributes to a vibrant scene. There are so many different, unique and original and authentic voices that are kind of making and creating art. And just be you, find what works for you, but then sharpen your voice in the best way that you possibly can to be the best version of yourself.
Brilliant. So we've got Home coming up.
Yes.
Whereabouts are you with the rehearsals and everything for that?
So rehearsals are going well at the minute. It's just a lot of fitness work, if I'm being honest. It's funny to be speaking as a poet. People think I get up on stage on the left, read poems in the middle and leave on the right. It's a very physically demanding piece. There's lots of movement in there. So I'm literally, if I'm being honest, it's just gym stage in a minute. I've got some rehearsals next week, but they're just kind of fine tuning. But at the minute, it's lots of fitness, running lines and a bit of muscle memory stuff. But thankfully, I'm quite quick at jumping back into it. And again, it is a piece that I know quite well and I'm really proud of. So even after having not performed it for 6 months, I think, it's still there. It's still there.
It's your work. There. It's going to be.
Exactly. It's still there. So there's lots of fitness work, lots of running lines. Getting excited for it.
Yeah. Well, it just, honestly, it sounds brilliant. And it's genuinely been really interesting chatting with you today about this. I've spoken to lots of different people. I've never spoken to someone about poetry performance before. So it's been really, really interesting. Reece, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Colin.
And we can't wait. We're going to get Home Theatre from the 18th of February, This Kind of Black with Reece Williams. It has been a sellout before, so I'm just saying you need to get your tickets now.
Get your tickets.
Yeah, they're gonna go. Reece, thank you so much, and all the best with the show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Manchester Theatres. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
All this time I didn't know that you drove with the fear of your own murder on your mind. My kind of black's never gonna ask to be taught. And so your body becomes a tutorial, my sister. The loneliness once felt on the edge of the dance floor trades itself for this new, special kind of black.